Number 5, Allie Mayfair Richards and Ivy Mayfair Richards, AHS cult. Ivy Mayfair Richards is the manipulative, resentful wife. Ivy harbors deep resentment towards Allie for years, particularly regarding Allie's anxieties, phobias, and the power dynamic in their marriage. And instead of openly discussing her feelings, she lets bitterness just eat her away alive. And Ivy secretly joins Kai Anderson's cult and actively works against Allie, contributing to her psychological breakdown rather than protecting or supporting her own wife. Instead of reassuring Allie or validating her fears or feelings, Ivy repeatedly dismisses her phobias and anxiety, and it makes Allie feel like she's going crazy. She encourages the idea that Allie is unstable, which is a manipulation tactic to control her. Now, Allie Mayfair Richards is the manipulated, ruthless wife. She is emotionally unstable and needy. Allie's anxiety, phobias, and emotional dependence put a huge strain on her marriage. She expects Ivy to be her emotional rock, which becomes majorly overwhelming. And while Allie's paranoia is partially justified due to Allie's betrayal, her obsessive fears push Ivy away long before she ever discovered the truth about her wife. And after escaping the psychiatric facility and learning of Ivy's betrayal, which I really would have liked to have seen that psychiatric facility section in Cult. Why didn't they show that? But Allie doesn't just seek justice against Ivy. She plots this woman's murder. And instead of confronting her wife, she coldly poisons Ivy. Gotta say, though, that was a boss move. Now, after Ivy's death, Allie makes sure that Oz sees her as the only good parent, warping his perception of events to ensure that he will remain loyal to his mom. And Allie goes from a terrified victim to a power-hungry manipulator. She had the best character arc in this season by far. And after killing her wife, she takes full advantage of Kai's cult, eventually positioning herself as a powerful political figure. And why the relationship is so toxic is that there's betrayal on both sides. Ivy emotionally and psychologically destroys Allie, while Allie coldly murders Ivy in revenge. Which, revenge is definitely a dish best served cold. A complete lack of communication because neither partner expresses their issues in a healthy way. Ivy harbors silent resentment, while Allie spirals into paranoia and fear without discussing their problems. There's no emotional support. Instead of supporting each other, they both view each other as a burden or an obstacle or the enemy. Manipulation and power plays. Ivy manipulates the hell out of Allie into breaking down, and while Allie ultimately manipulates Ivy into eating her own poison. And they have huge toxic parenting dynamics. Both use Oz as a leverage, turning him into a pawn in their war against each other. Now, their marriage is an example of two people who should never have been together. Ivy is cold, resentful, psychologically abusive, while Allie is paranoid, emotionally unstable, and ultimately ruthless. Their toxic relationship ends in betrayal, murder, and the destruction of everything they once had. Number 4, Matt and Shelby Miller, Roanoke. When Shelby becomes distressed over the supernatural events in their home, Matt repeatedly dismisses her fears. And instead of offering comfort or solutions, he prioritizes logic over her emotional well-being, making her feel alone and distress. Matt frequently invalidates Shelby's experiences, making her doubt herself. And when she tries to tell him about strange occurrences, he chalks it up to paranoia or hysteria instead of actually believing her. And he's a cheater. Despite portraying himself as this devoted husband, Matt cheats on Shelby with our girl, Sexy Scathach, in this alleged trance-like state. I don't know if I believe that. He didn't seem in a trance-like state later. However, the betrayal is still real. He doesn't take responsibility for it, and it further damaged their marriage. He prioritizes his own needs over Shelby's. Like, instead of listening to Shelby's desperate pleas to leave, Matt insists on staying in the house, endangering them both. And he puts his curiosity and desire for control above his wife's safety. He holds back crucial information about the house, the dangers that they may face, which leaves Shelby vulnerable and unprepared, especially since Matt is always gone for work. She's absolutely alone 90% of the time. And instead of working together, he takes control in a way that isolates her. He has absolutely no accountability and refuses to acknowledge the role that he played in their suffering. And when Shelby finally reaches a breaking point, he blames the situation rather than his own actions. Now, don't get me wrong here. Shelby is definitely a person on her own. I guess this is the best way to describe her.
Nobody's gonna let us get hurt.
I'll bid their love.
Guys, this woman is very self-centered, unaware. I mean, okay, so look, Matt is emotionally neglectful, but Shelby also fails to recognize that Matt is also struggling too. She often focuses on her own fears and desires without considering his perspective. And Shelby makes rash decisions that put them both in danger, such as the fact that when she calls the police on Lee and accuses her of kidnapping Flora, I don't remember, but I think she did accuse her too of murdering her ex-husband, but she had absolutely no solid evidence. And this reckless action worsens the situation instead of helping it. And Shelby has this massive victim complex. She often acts as though she's the only one suffering. She does have a little bit of emotional manipulation, but I'm going to give her this right here because Matt, again, is emotionally neglectful. So Shelby has to resort to emotional outbursts and guilt tripping to basically be seen by her own husband. Though she is a cheater too. Matt cheats with Sexy Scathach and she cheats with Dominic, the guy who portrays her husband on the show. I agree with Shelby here. She tried to seek some kind of resolution with Matt and get their marriage on track, but she chose revenge instead when she caught Matt doing it again with Sexy Scathach. So I'm not going to give her a negative strike here because I don't blame her. Probably would have done the same thing. Now, the relationship is so toxic and never would have worked out because they have a massive lack of communication. Instead of discussing their issues in a healthy way, both engage in avoidance, emotional outbursts, and dishonesty. They have mutual betrayal. They both are cheaters. No emotional support. Neither truly validates or comforts the other during their shared trauma, which leads to resentment and loneliness. They're both selfish. They each prioritize their own feelings and desires over the well-being of their partner. Resentment and lack of forgiveness is everywhere, and instead of trying to work through their issues, they hold on to their bitterness instead. Wow. I mean, I have to say, I think maybe this might be a relationship of an example of trauma bonding, but their marriage is a massive toxic cycle of betrayal, neglect, and emotional distance, proving that they were never equipped to handle the traumas that they faced together. Number 3, Anna Victoria Alcott and Dexter Harding, AHS delegate. Dex is the deceptive, self-serving husband. Dex is basically living a double life and has so much lies, I'm surprised he can keep up with them. He never talks about Addie, his previous marriage with her, or unpleasant things to avoid real life. And he's also living a double life with the woman that he is cheating on Anna with. There is so much emotional distance and neglect that Dex, in my opinion, is emotionally detached from his relationship with Anna. He is physically present, but mentally and emotionally, he's definitely absent. And that makes Anna feel lonely and unwanted. He gaslights Anna constantly, and rather than listening to her, he deflects and gaslights her when she senses something is wrong. He downplays her concerns, gut feelings, and makes her question her own judgment. And he prioritizes his own comfort over Anna's well-being. I mean, Dexter is aware that he is cheating on Anna and gaslighting her. His mistress is living in the same building. But he chooses to maintain the charade to protect himself rather than just be upfront and truthful with his wife. Now, Anna is the in denial, emotionally desperate wife, because deep down, Anna knows something is off in their marriage, but she chooses to ignore the signs rather than confront the truth. She clings to the idea of their relationship instead of actually facing the reality of it. I guess they both have that thing where they would rather be in the clouds than on the ground being logical. Anna desperately wants Dex's affection and approval, and even though he is incompatible basically of truly loving her in the way that she needs, she settles for his crumbs of affection that he leaves behind for her rather than her actually demanding honesty. And whether consciously or unconsciously, Anna plays along with Dex's facade, allowing their toxic dynamic to persist rather than confronting the truth head on. And while Dex is the primary deceiver, Anna also manipulates him emotionally by making him feel guilty for not really fulfilling the role of the perfect husband, despite knowing that something is missing. Again, guys, always trust your gut. If your gut is telling you something is off, listen to it. Anna should have listened to her gut, and she didn't. That was a huge mistake. And Anna views herself solely as a victim rather than recognizing her own role and ignoring these massive red flags and remaining in a broken relationship. Now, their relationship is toxic because it's built on lies and secrecy. Dexter's dishonesty creates an unstable foundation that prevents genuine love and trust. There's a lack of emotional connection between the two. They're married, but there's no true intimacy or partnership in this relationship. Dex is distant, and Anna is emotionally neglected. And they have a mutual resentment towards each other. Dex resents feeling trapped with Anna, and Anna resents being unwanted, leading to a cold and bitter relationship dynamic. And there's no honest communication here. Neither of them express their true feelings. And Dexter avoids the truth, and Anna avoids confronting what she already suspects. So guys, Dex and Anna's marriage is deeply toxic due to the deception, denial, cheating, and the lack of true emotional intimacy. Dex constantly lies to avoid the truth, and Anna desperately wants to believe those lies in order to avoid facing reality. Number 2, Ben and Vivian Harmon, Murder House. Ben. Okay, before you guys ask, yes, there is a couple worse than Ben and Vivian, and I'm about to get there. But let's start with Ben. He cheats on Vivian with Hayden, a younger student, which shatters the trust in his marriage with Vivian. He guilt trips Vivian into moving to the murder house by framing it as a chance to heal their marriage, despite the move being more about escaping the consequences of his actions. Even after moving to Los Angeles for a fresh start, he continues to entertain Hayden's manipulative presence in his life. He constantly invalidates Vivian's feelings and experiences, making her doubt herself. And when Vivian hears strange things in the house or expresses discomfort, he dismisses her concerns as stress or paranoia. And Ben plays the victim 100% of the time, making Vivian feel guilty for not forgiving him fast enough. He acts as if he deserves sympathy for trying to fix things, rather than take full responsibility for his cheating. And this really pisses me off, but when Vivian becomes pregnant, Ben is suddenly emotionally unavailable. He disregards her growing paranoia and pain, and particularly as the pregnancy takes its toll on her physically and mentally. Even after being caught in his affair, Ben continues to lie about his interactions with Hayden, failing to tell Vivian that he cut ties with her. He actively hides the extent of his involvement, leading to more damage. And in my opinion, Ben puts his own needs and desires before Vivian and his own child. And instead of focusing on repairing their marriage and being a good father, he's more concerned with his own reputation and career. Yet Vivian isn't so innocent here. Instead of directly confronting issues at times, Vivian shuts down emotionally, refusing to communicate with Ben. Well, it's understandable given his cheating, but the lack of communication further damages their marriage. And rather than directly telling him that he's a jerk and maybe they should separate or whatever, Vivian sometimes expresses her resentment through these passive-aggressive remarks. And that creates a tense household atmosphere, especially with their daughter Violet. And I feel that sometimes Vivian cares about her daughter, sure, but she can be really selfish too, leaving a strained relationship with Violet and Ben. And after Ben's affair, Vivian struggles to forgive him, yes, which is absolutely, completely valid. However, instead of engaging in some kind of communication, she distances herself emotionally and physically, leaving their marriage in this state of limbo rather than working toward a resolution or maybe like a separation or a divorce. Now, their overall toxic relationship dynamics are the fact that they have a massive lack of trust. After Ben's affair, their relationship is built on nothing but suspicion rather than trust. I mean, Ben even thinks that Vivian had an affair with the security guy. I mean, I don't understand. She's never had an affair. He's having the affair, and he is putting his guilt and his everything on her. Anyway, I digress. But there's a power imbalance here. Ben tries to control the narrative of their marriage, making Vivian feel like the unreasonable one for not moving on fast enough or not doing something fast enough so that way their marriage can heal. And there's a massive element of dysfunctional communication. And rather than addressing problems in a healthy way, I mean, Ben is a therapist, you would think he would know this. Their conversations are filled with avoidance, dishonesty, and gaslighting, mainly on Ben's part. He sucks as a therapist, he sucks as a dad, he sucks as a husband, and he sucks as a human being. Anyway, there's also a lot of unresolved resentment between the two, and instead of working through their issues, they hold on to their anger and pain, leading to a marriage that is emotionally draining for both. Now, their marriage is a prime example of a relationship that is too damaged to repair, and it is built on deceit, betrayal, and emotional neglect. And I genuinely feel that Ben and Vivian Harmon are one of the most toxic couples on this list, and they absolutely deserve to be number 2. And here we go. The number 1 spot for American Horror Story's most toxic couple is Harry and Doris Gardner from Red Tide. Harry Gardner's toxic traits is mostly that he is the ultimate monster husband. He's manipulative and self-serving. Harry consistently gaslights and manipulates Doris into believing he is a loving, supportive husband while prioritizing his own career and ambitions over her well-being. His affection is conditional, only present when she serves his interest. He's also emotionally neglectful and disregards Doris's well-being. And the moment Harry begins taking the black pills, he completely throws Doris away, treating her as an inconvenience rather than a wife. He isolates her emotionally in ignoring her fears and struggles. He exploits her vulnerability. Harry knows that Doris has been struggling with her self-esteem and pressures of being a mother, yet he uses that to his advantage. He makes her believe that her sacrifices for his career are noble, while he secretly thrives at her expense. Also, he's great at gaslighting and disarming her fears. When Doris begins feeling something is off in Provincetown, Harry repeatedly tells her she's overreacting. He makes her feel crazy rather than validating her concerns. all while knowing there's real danger around them. Harry is also, guys, he hides the truth. He is very deceptive. He hides the truth about the black pills, the pale people, and the real cost of his newfound talent. Instead of warning Doris, he lets her remain ignorant until it's too late. I mean, that's absolute betrayal, and in my opinion, the most ultimate cruelty. And that's the most horrifying aspect of Harry's toxicity, is how he willingly allows Doris to take the black pill, knowing she lacks the talent needed to survive it. He sets her up to fail so she can be disposed of, freeing him to live without her. I mean, I know it's Alma, so let's talk about enabling Alma's psychopathy. Harry not only lets his daughter Alma manipulate and endanger Doris, he actively sides with her. He lets his own child push Doris into taking the pill, leading to her tragic downfall. And there is zero remorse for destroying Doris. This, in my opinion, is what makes Harry the worst husband, a human being at all, to ever march upon the AHS screen. After Doris turns into a pale person, Harry doesn't grieve or try to help her. He just throws her away like trash, showing that he never truly cared for her as a person, only what she provided as a wife and a mother. Sadly, Doris's toxic traits is that she's a gaslit wife. She has codependency and issues, obviously, and she's desperate for validation. Doris is desperate for Harry's approval and love, to the point where she ignores the warning signs in her marriage. She wants to be the perfect wife and mother, even at the cost of her own happiness. She lacks self-assertiveness, and she has so much self-doubt. Instead of standing up for herself when Harry and Alma begin treating her like a burden, Doris internalizes the mistreatment, believing that she is the problem. And sadly, this is something else that a lot of the wives have on this list, is ignoring the red flags. Doris senses, she knows something's wrong in her gut about Provincetown, but instead of acting on her gut instincts, she clings to the hope that Harry will protect her. She continues to trust him despite clear evidence that he is hiding things from her. Again, I just want to reiterate, always trust your gut, my darlings that are listening to this right now. Please trust your gut and go with it. Lastly, sadly, Doris allowed herself to be pressured, though this is not her fault. I don't really think this is a toxic trait. I just want to say that it is sad that Doris succumbs to the pressure of taking the black pill, despite her gut telling her not to do it. She wants so badly to fit into her family's world that she ignored the risk. Now, this is why their relationship is so toxic. This is a one-sided love, because Doris truly loves Harry, but Harry only loves what she provides, which is stability, a child, and being a homemaker. And the moment she becomes inconvenient, he throws her away. There's also huge betrayal at the highest level when Harry willingly allows Doris to become a pale person, essentially killing her in a way that's more horrifying than actual death. There's so much gaslighting and emotional abuse by Harry. He does it repeatedly when Doris feels like she's irrational, when in reality, she's like the only sane person in that house. And there's so much lack of protection. Instead of keeping his wife safe, Harry aligns with Alma, allowing their daughter to torment and destroy Doris. And there's zero redemption whatsoever for Alma and Harry. Harry never atones for what he did to Doris. Instead, he reaps the benefit of his selfish choices until Alma does turn on him too. But I have to say, in my final note here, Harry Gardner is the worst husband in American Horror Story history. He is selfish, deceitful, emotionally abusive, and ultimately murders his wife in the most degrading way possible. Doris, on the other hand, is a tragic victim, a woman who loved her husband too much to see what a monster he truly was. I feel that they truly deserve the title of the most toxic couple in AHS history. Now, what do you guys think? Who is the most toxic couple in AHS? Did I miss an obvious couple? I must say that in my defense, there were some couples who were nearly on the list, such as Tate and Violet, the Countess, and, everyone in season 5. And, Mickey, Karen, Dell, Desiree, there's just so many others. But I really feel strongly that these were the worst of the worst. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. Happy Valentine's Day, and beware of our girl, Sexy Scathach. You know she's on the hunt for her own Valentine.
Beware of Sexy Scathach.